Good afternoon. It's Quant Trade Edge with the daily wrap-up for Wednesday, March 30th. The Australian dollar was something that was on our list yesterday, and given the Taylor count, of having had several down days and then a price flip, we thought that breaking through this would lead to more upside. The breakthrough happened on right at 5:30 in the evening, so it happened very early in the Globex session. And as soon as it broke, see if you can just see it without even drawing the lines in. It gave a very clean pattern to the downside here. We had this A1 pop 2, and that basically set our risk bar as this 8 p.m. bar, which happens to be Asian Open, and that stop held all the way until about 4:15 in the morning. So the stop was about 6.5 wide, 19.5 got to 44, so we got about 22 points out of it. Didn't quite get 4R, if I remember right. This is 4R would be 26 on top of that would be 25.5, and we got to 45.5, and we got to 44. So came about 3 ticks shy of 4R, and then it pulled back. And then what I don't like about the action is it actually took out that stop. Unlike what we saw in copper yesterday, where even after this flush it held that low, in this case we gave way to that low. It looks like it didn't do it again. It did do it again. So this low was 11, this low was 10.5. So it's kind of made a series of lower lows. And that forebodes some weakness. And speaking of copper, I just wanted to go back and, with the trade that we had on yesterday, it would have easily gotten to our 4R target was 79.40, and it would have gotten there overnight had we left that on. But after this move down here, where we held that low, I just decided to get out in the afternoon, although it would have reached our target later that night. So, Australian dollar, not the best pattern, but it did give you almost 4R if you were able to, monitor that around the European Open. But then, again, it kind of went up and made a marginal high and then failed from there. So what I would be looking for to get short this market would be a U-turn pattern. And we have this right here, and a break below 1050, 75 1050 would commence the U-turn. That would also set up a 4x trade. This is a good setup bar for a sell, and I say that for 2 reasons. One is we've had 2 days up in the ROC, and this was a pretty weak bar. It couldn't take out this high. It's a doji closing near the lows. And something unique to watch. This here is the LBR 310 oscillator. The histogram is the fast line. The other line is the slow line. It's not that often that the slope of the slow line changes. So here we've had the slope change to down, and this is the first sell day. 2 days up on the ROC leads to a sell day. And those can sometimes lead to a good size down move. And it's even more pronounced in copper. Here we had the slope flip down around here, and this is our first real sell day after that happened. So we have a PF3, 2 up there, and a price flip, and a very similar looking doji closing in the lower end of its range. So copper's something I would be looking to do the 4x trade on, as would be the Australian dollar. With the Australian dollar, I'd probably just use the U-turn as an entry. We were also watching gold today, and gold had a really good setup. Well, I guess I'll throw this out of order since we've already got the daily up. This is a great setup for tomorrow as well. We have a divergence between this low and this low. We have a trap of this low trapping beneath this low. peaking and getting rejected there. 2 PF3s and a flip up. If we take out this high, the 4x trade would be great on gold. So those are good setups for today. As of yesterday, we were happy to take this 4x trade as well because this was a good setup bar with everything with the trap, the tail, close to the highs, and it didn't actually break the previous day high until early in the morning, about 7:15. I believe there was like an ADP jobs number, and then it gave us a pretty clean two-wave down. We had this. Now, here's the little sub-wave within the wave, but it didn't make a higher high, so you could kind of disregard it and look at it this way. That's one way to view it, and that gave us a risk bar right here that went on to get 4R at about 38 or 39, somewhere in there. But another way you could look at it is if this was a little too imperfect on the 5-minute, we could move it to the 9-minute, and it was textbook clean on the 9-minute. So we had this right here, this right here, this right here. This became a slightly bigger risk bar, and 4R on that risk bar would be up at around 47.70. So we didn't quite get there yet, but we also respected the low of that pivot low there, and we do continue to have a good setup for the 4x as well. So that might still happen. Another interesting trade today is if you look at natural gas, we had 2 days down, which here is 2 days down on the ROC, and we kind of had a similar situation. Here we had the first turning up of the slow line, and this is the first buy day where we had two consecutive down days in the ROC. So it's basically the first down day after a ROC flip, a slow line slope flip. And with the buy day here, we would expect it to test below the low. In fact, let's put that low up there. But then we would expect it to reverse. So a U-turn is a perfect way to trade that. And overnight, we did go make a new low, and this whole thing was a hoagie because this low held. So I guess there are multiple ways you could have done this. If you just traded this as a hoagie, this high to low is about 6.5 cents, 13.26, 26 on top of that would be 59. We got it. We got 4R just trading that hoagie. But what I did, I got in a little later on this because I was looking at the U-turn where you had this A, B, C. So the U-turn signaled here, and as soon as it signaled, there was no heat. It went straight up. So that's another way to catch it. So it's not the 4x trade per se, but remember we were talking about the cycle of the Taylor cycle. And the first Taylor buy day, you can enter with a U-turn, and then on the break of today's high, we would enter on the 4x, and then we would be looking for divergences to get out of the trade, and then we would have the same thing happen in reverse. And this doesn't, usually an outside day doesn't make for a great 4x trade because a lot of the bullets are already spent. And then also Thursday is the day we have EIA, the inventory numbers reported, and that can always cause a lot of volatility in natural gas. So those were the main trades for today, and on the 4x method, and then this U-turn. And the best setups again for tomorrow are the Australian dollar short, the copper short, and a continued gold long. In terms of the indices, they were all inside days, so there's not a lot of new information here. Granted, if we go break out above this high, that would probably set up a good forex trade. Just have to wait and see if that happens. But yeah, otherwise there were some VCP patterns. Did a separate video on that. Take a look at that if you're interested in stocks. And as you've seen before, the VCP pattern happens in futures as well. We've seen it on the Australian dollar and on one of the indices. But anyway, hope you had a good day today. It was kind of a little choppy, but just stick with the method and drop me a comment if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer.